Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. John here from Wild Boar Cycling, and I'm joined with Brian today. And my Strava friends often see my post, and we ride together. I'll often describe the ride and describe you as Steely Man because that's what you do. And I think Brian really wants to talk about steel bikes and how important they are. And he calls me Captain Carbon. I'm fine with that. I really am. But Brian, what's on your mind? And
so I've been wanting to talk about why steel bikes for a long time, but the problem is that the whys keep changing. There's so many different reasons, and I'm by no means the first person to ever say that steel bikes are the best bikes. But most of the reasons people tend to talk about steel bikes being good are like aesthetic or personal experience, like non-quantifiable, opinion-based. Like, I think a steel bike rides better than the others.
You're talking about
ride quality and the way they look. It's all about things that they're opinions, right?
Well, this is a true confession here. My very first bicycle, many centuries ago, decades ago, was a steel Raleigh Record. Lug frame, beautiful bike. And I didn't appreciate it at the time. No, I didn't. And then my next real bike was also a Bianchi, and it was also...
I remember that bike.
Chromoly.
That was a good bike.
Yeah, that was a great bike. And it had some of those same features of the Raleigh that I liked. But I think you've got some data here that might suggest that there might be some other reasons you folks want to consider a steel bike.
Well, yeah, so there's two things I want to talk about. One is why, especially if you're just getting into biking, that your first bike, you should consider getting a steel bike.
Why not aluminum, Brian?
Why not aluminum? Well, so the main reason for that is longevity.
Gotcha.
Okay? The only two bike frame materials that you can regularly get that will literally last till your grandkids are riding them are steel and titanium.
Correct.
And titanium is very expensive. 4 or 5 times as much.
As a steel bike.
Yep. Or any other bike for that matter. Titanium is very expensive. It's a great material. I mean, it's like, whenever I win the lottery, I will probably have at least one titanium bike because they're great. But that's out of the question for the first bike. But so steel will last forever. Carbon and aluminum are prone to creep and fatigue, and it doesn't matter what you do with that bike. If you are riding it, it will eventually wear out.
It will fail.
It will fail.
I guess one of the other things too, and this came up in a conversation I was having the other day with somebody in a shop who had crashed their carbon bike. And I looked at him and said, it's not worth the risk. I know you can't see the crack in the frame, but you have no idea about that fatigue underneath. And they looked at me and said, oh gosh, you're right.
Well, so that's the thing. So one is just lifespan. The other is repairability.
Right.
Okay? Now, carbon bikes are repairable, but it can be quite expensive. People have to have special X-ray stuff to make sure that the layers aren't delaminating.
Correct.
But any welder worth their mask can fix a steel bike, and if you find a bike frame builder, they can do a beautiful job of it.
So my Bianchi, I crashed that, and I took it back in, and the frame was bent, and they were able to bend it out straight again.
There's things like that too. Just comparing it to aluminum, you can repair aluminum.
Yes.
But aluminum frames, they're all heat treated. They weld up the frame and they put it in a big oven and they heat treat the frame.
Right.
If you weld that frame after the fact, in order to get the same performance out of it again, you need to heat treat it again.
Yeah.
Which that requires taking all the paint off, and that's a bigger deal. So you can't really do that. So you can repair them pretty easily. Mm-hmm. The other is you can bend them. Right?
Yes.
So, I like old things just because I like old things. And the spacing of wheels keeps changing.
Yes.
And with a steel bike, you can just bend it to fit the new wheel.
You can.
And you can't do that with aluminum. You definitely can't do that with carbon.
Nope. Or titanium.
Or titanium is too. Well, you could if you were strong enough.
Yeah, I guess so.
But there's just so much. Like you could, if you bought a steel bike frame and you picked the right frame, assuming you never got into competitive racing, that might be the only bike you ever own in your whole life.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that's really important because, we throw so many things away. We're such a disposable culture.
Yeah, and Brian, you have some interesting notes here, especially about the environmental concerns that you have. Yeah.
Right. So that was the other side of this is we were talking about like why you should
Why,
think
me
about
or
it. Just a person in general
Yeah.
should think about a steel bike. My other thoughts are about why the industry should go back to making steel bikes. You can't go to Trek and buy a steel bike now.
No.
Right?
No.
You can't go to Specialized and buy a steel bike. And this industry needs to go back to steel, in my opinion. And it's mostly because of carbon footprint.
Tell me more.
So Trek is really big about this. They're very big on their transparency as about their environmental. They have a report they put out every few years. So I got this data from the report. On average, a simple non-suspension aluminum frame from Trek makes 20 kilograms of carbon emissions.
Okay.
A carbon frame from Trek is 57. Almost 3 times the carbon footprint of an aluminum frame. Steel frame, according to Reynolds' number, because again, Trek doesn't make steel frames. Reynolds was a steel tubing manufacturer, 17 grams of carbon to manufacture a steel bike. So that's slightly better than aluminum. Much, much better than carbon. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but Trek in 2024, which is when the numbers are available, made 1.6 million bike frames.
Wow, do that math,
And
folks.
half of those were carbon. Half of those were carbon.
Wow.
If Trek switched all of their carbon bikes to steel, hypothetically speaking, you're looking at somewhere between 30 to 50,000 metric tons of carbon emissions reduced.
I'm going to tell you the counterpoint that folks are going to make, though, Brian, is that, with carbon, they are able to do some really elaborate work in frame design for aerodynamics.
So yes. And so here's where that comes into play is, you like your fast bikes. But you don't need a fast bike. Your job doesn't depend on seconds or minutes off your time, right? My job, my salary, my livelihood doesn't depend on me winning a race, right? So those aerodynamic things are great and they're fun, but they're actually really kind of small when you compare it to the aerodynamics of the bike, which is like 70% per person. And there's so many other things. It's like, sure, if you are in the pro peloton, you need those extra 50 grams of weight savings, and you need that 5% reduction in drag coefficient. But like nobody else needs those.
Well, you make several really good points here, Brian. We were talking off camera this morning, and you talked about if Trek or Specialized went carbon neutral completely, what would that save? Well,
it's like the small city's worth of
a small city's worth of
carbon emissions a year,
and that's a lot. And Trek, especially, I know, is really focused on that lowering carbon emissions. As a matter of fact, on that wheel episode I did up here, they used their next generation layup, so they could on those wheels reduce their carbon footprint on them. And do I notice a difference? No, they run pretty well.
And I think that's the thing is like for material choice in the wheels, that matters.
It does.
Like I'm not even that. I don't ride that fast, but I notice the improvement for carbon wheels.
Right. And ride quality.
And
too.
ride quality and safety and like there's so many factors that but you don't. actually notice the difference in a frame. Like you don't get that improvement. I don't get that improvement
Okay.
in a carbon frame. And so, but then there's one other thing. So we got why you should buy a bike, why the industry should shift, and then there's another. This is less about the environment, more about kind of building a more healthy economy around the cycling industry. Because, if we look back to the last couple of years, COVID, the post-COVID times, all this, the bike apocalypse they were talking about last year, the bike industry is very unsustainable and very not like a circular economy.
No.
And they make all those frames halfway across the world, and they put those frames in boxes, and then they put those boxes on boats, and they just take up a lot of space. And now the input to shipping a thing isn't the weight of it, it's the size of it.
Yeah.
You can put a lot of bike tubes in a bike frame box.
You can.
And ship way more bike frames as tubes than you can as frames. And so I could imagine a world where like all the big cities have local bike shops that have frame building in the back.
That would be interesting.
And Trek sends a box of tubes that are special Trek tubes, and they build them there. And then there's people there who can fix them, and it's much more of an older kind of style of economy that isn't based off of extracting a thing, having it manufactured somewhere else where there's cheap labor, shipping it halfway across the world, and then throwing it away in 3 years.
And gosh, Brian, this just harkens back to the original days of cycling, doesn't it? Where steel frames were made around the corner from your house, and you had someone who could fix it. And early days of Tour de France, you had to go out and weld your frame if it broke. Interesting stuff. Cool. Thought-provoking, folks. I guess my big question to you guys out there in YouTube land is, what are you riding right now? Have you ever experimented with a steel frame bike? Other thoughts?
I have a closing thought.
Okay.
And it's why my Soma Fog Cutter, I think, is one of the best bike options if you're into road or gravel.
Okay.
It has lots and lots of tire clearance.
It does.
So you can ride it as a road bike, you can ride it as a road bike. But the biggest thing, two things. Maybe I'll put some pictures up here. It has brake bridges.
Yes.
That you can make it a rim brake bike if you want to. And it has removable, replaceable rear dropouts.
Yes.
So currently it's through axle. If I wanted to ride it as a quick release, I could get new dropouts and bolt those on, and now it's a quick release bike. And whatever new axle standard they come out with in 5 to 10 years, I could buy those dropouts.
Or rear derailleur standard. I mean,
exactly. It's completely changed. So and that's the thing, is the bike industry isn't building carbon bikes with the mind of how do we make this last through the next 3 standards of things.
Nope.
But these small boutique, because people who want steel bikes right now aren't, racing the Tour de France, they want other things. And one of those things is modularity and the ability to modify. So,
yes.
Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
I hope this was thought-provoking today. I'm not sure we've answered all the questions.
No.
But hopefully it was helpful, and you do the standard YouTube stuff like, subscribe, and notify. And please, let us know down in the comment section what you're riding right now and maybe why you like it so much. And what else are they going to do, Brian?
They're going to go out and ride.
And have some
steel.
fun.
They're going to ride steel.
They're going to ride steel, have some fun, and of course, keep the rubber side down. All right, bye, y'all.